Ren Collins had rehearsed every argument. The opening offer was $4.2 million. 2 lawyers waited in the car. A 5-minute pitch sat memorized behind her teeth. She crossed the threshold of the cedar house at Lake Jindabyne. A polite good arvo was already shaping itself on her mouth. The greeting never came out. On the wall opposite the door, hung in a plain wooden frame, was the oil painting she had been searching for over 11 years. Lake Jindabyne in deep blue. A small boy fishing. In the lower right corner, a brushed signature in a child scrawl. Charlie C. Summer 2013. Ren sank to her knees in the living room of a stranger and broke. 3 weeks earlier, on the 22nd floor of the Collins Health Foundation in Sydney, Ren stood at the head of a polished blackwood table and walked her board through the same project for the 7th quarter in a row. The Charlie Collins Children's Mental Health Centre. 80 beds. 6 years of planning. 3 of waiting. The site map was already on the screen behind her. 4 parcels on the western shore of Lake Jindabyne, New South Wales. Quiet water. Old growth gums. A landscape every clinical paper she had read said was the right place to put broken kids back together. 3 parcels signed. Her assistant Nina said from the side of the room, "Archie is still a no." "Read it back." Nina read flatly. 14 months. 7 offers. 1.8 million to 4.2. Every refusal a single line. "The land is not for sale. Respectfully, A. Venables." That is the entire letter, every time. Ren did not sit. She had not sat through a board update in 9 years. "I'll go see him," she said. Our counsel advised." "I'll go see him." That settled it. 220 kilometers west, in the same hour, Archie Venables was already on his second cup of tea. 5 o'clock in the morning at Lake Jindabyne looked like dark blue ink poured over a sheet of glass. He walked out to the boat shed his old man had built in 1971, switched on the lamps, and ran a thumb along the curved rib of a half-finished canoe. His daughter Jody, 9 years old, was asleep upstairs in the cedar house, sketchbook tucked under her cheek the way other kids held stuffed animals. His mother Eleanor had been gone 2 years now. The last thing she had ever said about this property was simple. "This house doesn't sell, son. Not for gold." At 7:00, he walked down to the mailbox at the gate. Inside was a single Shire Council envelope. Property tax reassessment. 340%. Signed Brock Holloman, Mayor. Archie stood there in the cool air for a full 30 seconds before he folded the paper and walked back up the gravel. At noon, he met Miss Coraline Beach at the only coffee shop in town. She was 71, narrow-shouldered, kind-eyed. She took the tax letter out of the envelope and read it twice. "Archie, I don't want to say this, but if this isn't paid in 60 days, the Shire takes the land. You need to think hard about the offer again. You know why I won't sell." She was quiet a long moment. "I do, but Marin would want Jody to have a roof, even if it isn't this one." He did not answer. That night, Jody drew at the kitchen table while he peeled apples. She paused her pencil and looked up. "Daddy, the painting in the living room, was that your friend a long time ago?" "A friend from summer camp," he said. "Long time ago." "He was really good, yeah." Adrian said, "He was very good." She did not ask anything else. In Sydney at 9 o'clock that night, Ren sat alone in her office. On her desk was a photograph of Charlie at 17. She turned it face down. It was the gesture she had made for 11 years before any hard decision. "I'll get this parcel, Charlie," she said into the empty room. "For you." Thursday morning, the black Range Rover came up the gravel drive at Lake Jindabyne and stopped in front of a wooden gate. Ren stepped out alone. "Stay in the car," she told her lawyers. "I go in first." Archie opened the door before she knocked. Grey-blue flannelette. A streak of linseed oil along the back of one hand. He was not surprised. Nina had sent a courteous letter ahead. He did not invite her inside. "Mrs. Collins, you came a long way to waste your arvo." "Ms. Collins, and I don't waste arvos. 10 minutes, Mr. Venables." He looked at her a long time. Then he stepped aside. 10. She walked in. She had prepared for everything except this room. The ceiling pitched at an angle she had only ever seen in good concert halls. The north windows pulled in soft, even painter's light. The stair treads were spaced unevenly on purpose, narrower at the bottom where an older knee would prefer them. The banister had been sanded so smooth it looked like the polished shoulder of a bone. This was not the home of a man who built boats. She stopped on the rug. The recognition arrived all at once. She had stood under exactly these proportions in 2018 at a fundraiser inside the Sydney Children's Cancer Wing. You designed the Sydney Children's Cancer Wing. It was not a question. Archie froze for half a second. You have the wrong man. Venables and Holloway. You are the Venables. He neither confirmed nor denied. You came to talk about the land. Not about me. 9 minutes left. She let it go and took the armchair. She started her pitch. 80 beds, Western Shore, trees and water, community jobs. Nina had drafted 3 variations. Ren used the warmest one. When she said the name Charlie Collins, Archie tilted his head slightly. Your brother. 11 years ago. 17. He was quiet a long time. I'm sorry. Ren, who had heard that line from thousands of mouths, did not answer. Footsteps came down the stairs. Daddy, I finished The Black Swan. A small girl, 9 years old, sketchbook held against her chest. She saw Ren and stopped. Oh, sorry, Ren produced the smile she used for donors. Jody studied her with the open, unhurried curiosity of a child who had been raised around quiet people. Would you like to see The Black Swan? Jody, the lady is working. Archie said gently. Ren surprised herself. I'd like to see. Jody came down the rest of the stairs. She turned the sketchbook around. A black swan on Lake Jindabyne in colored pencil. The line was confident, restrained. The water suggested rather than drawn. Ren's hand moved without permission. Her fingers brushed the edge of the page. She knew that line. She raised her eyes from the sketchbook. For the first time since entering the house, she looked across the room. Her gaze landed on the opposite wall. Ren stood up slowly. Her body did it before her mind decided. She crossed the rug in 2 steps. Archie did not understand yet. Jody stayed where she was on the bottom stair, sensing something heavy without being able to name it. The painting. Lake Jindabyne in deep blue. A small boy fishing, Archie as a child of 9 or 10, in the lower right corner. In a brush scrawl, the same hand as the swan in the sketchbook. Charlie C. Summer 2013. Ren touched the frame. Her finger trembled against the wood. This is my brother's painting. Archie, standing now beside her, slowly turned and looked at the painting he had hung in this same room for 11 years. Charlie Collins. He said the name for the first time in his life as a question. Charlie was my brother. Her voice came apart in the middle. Charlie gave this painting to someone at Lake Jindabyne Arts Camp the summer of 2013. I have been looking for it for 11 years. My mother burned almost everything of his after he. She did not finish that sentence. I couldn't save a single canvas. I wrote to every camper from that summer. No one remembered. No one knew. I stopped looking 5 years ago. Archie sat down on the armchair behind him. He did not look at her. He looked at the painting. I shared a cabin with Charlie that summer. He was 17. I was 21 working as a counselor. He painted this in the last week. He said, "You keep it. You're the only one here who actually fishes seriously." I hung it in my dorm at uni. I hung it in my apartment in Melbourne. I hung it here. Ren went down, not gracefully. She knelt on the rug and folded forward and wept the way grief weeps when it has been postponed for 11 years. Archie froze. He had not seen a woman cry like that since Marin's funeral. Jody moved first. She did not ask anything. She took the linen tea towel from the back of the chair and pressed it carefully into Ren's hand. Then she sat down on the floor about half a meter away, not touching, and waited. Archie finally lowered himself to the floor beside Ren. I didn't know, he said. I didn't know he couldn't finish either. Ren wiped her face with the towel. Did he laugh that summer? She asked. Archie thought a long time before answering. He laughed a lot. He was good that summer. That's the part one couldn't make sense of when I heard 6 months later. Ren put her hands over her face. Archie did not touch her shoulder. He put his palm down on the cedar floorboards near her, one hand with the weight, and left it there. Outside, her phone vibrated in her coat pocket. After a long minute, she answered without looking at the screen. It was Nina. 10 minutes is now 45. Are we all right? Ren breathed out. Cancel the rest of the trip. I'm staying at Lake Jindabyne tonight. At dusk, Archie led her down through the long grass to the jetty behind the house. The lake at the end of October took on the same blue as the painting. Jody stayed inside warming soup, having been raised by quiet people to know that grown-ups sometimes need distance. They sat on the cedar planks of the jetty. They did not touch. A meter between them. Archie spoke first. He told her about that summer. Charlie, 17, sent up from Sydney because his parents thought camp would be good for him. Charlie didn't talk much at first, but he painted every day. He liked listening to Archie talk about architecture school. One afternoon, on this same jetty, Charlie had said, quite simply, I want to draw a hospital where kids aren't afraid. Ren went very still. Charlie said that. You didn't know. Charlie never told our family what he wanted to be. He only painted. In his room, alone. He talked a lot at camp, Archie said. To me. The silence went long. A black swan answered itself somewhere across the water. My foundation is building a children's psychiatric hospital on this land. That was supposed to be the project Charlie would have made. I didn't know he had already had the idea. She laughed a small bitter laugh. He's been living in your head for 11 years, while I thought I had lost him completely. Archie was quiet for a while. Then he said, he didn't go anywhere, Ren. He's in this room every morning when I make coffee. She looked sideways. It was the first time he had used her name. He kept his eyes on the water. I'm not going to sell this land to your foundation. Her stomach dropped before she could think. I'm going to give it to you, he said. All 4 acres, for the Charlie Collins Center. On one condition. What condition? Let me design it. Pro bono. I need to do this for him. She did not answer for a long time. She looked at the lake, at the bush, at the curve of the shoreline she would soon ask engineers to respect. She nodded. From the house, Jody's voice called down through the screen door. Tea's ready. They walked back up the slope together. For the first time in 11 years, Ren sat down to a family meal at someone else's table. Friday morning at the Lake Jindabyne Shire Hall, Brock Halloman's assistant set a folded note on his desk and left without a word. The note said, Range Rover at the Venables house overnight. Still there at 7 o'clock. Halloman read it twice. Then he picked up the phone. Trent, we have a problem. On the other end, Trent Sutherland of Sutherland Resorts said only, stop it. By any means. Halloman called an emergency Shire Council session for that afternoon. He arrived with a folder he had been holding for 2 years. The land along the western shore, his report said, was zoned residential. A commercial healthcare facility would require a minimum 18-month review. The council, half of them his appointees, nodded. In the same hour, he signed a separate document. Building permit denial. Venables boat shed. Unsafe structure. 30 days to demolish. By noon, the news reached Archie by way of a Shire inspector who had the decency to look ashamed. Archie read the demolition order standing in the doorway of the shed his old man had built in 1971. He said nothing. He folded the paper and put it in his back pocket. He went outside, sat on the step, and looked at the lake. Jody came out a minute later and sat down beside him. She did not ask. She put her head against his shoulder. Daddy, is Ms. Ren staying? I don't know, sweetheart. I like her. I know. In the only coffee shop in town, Ren was working through email on her laptop when a flag message came through from Nina. Unusual activity at Lake Jindabyne Shire Hall. Halloman has just blocked the zoning. Ren closed her laptop. She did not raise her voice. She called her general counsel and said, get on the road. Bring the team. I want everything we have on Brock Halloman in 48 hours. Then, she drove out to Archie's shed. She found him on the step with Jody. He stood up when he saw her car. He handed her the demolition order without a word. She read it. Halloman has wanted this land for Sutherland Resorts for 2 years, Archie said. I've been the only thing in the way. Now he's afraid we are going to win the zoning. So, he's going to break the shed instead. Bankrupt me before the project clears. Do you want me to handle this? He looked at her. You're the foundation CEO. You can handle it. I need you to say yes or no, Archie. He looked at the lake a long time. Jody had gone quietly back inside. Yes. But not for me. For Charlie Center. Ren nodded. She walked back to her car, opened the door, dialed Nina. Push the Holloman file. Everything. 48 hours. And schedule a meeting with the Sutherland CEO. On Saturday morning, Coraline Beach came up the gravel drive without calling ahead. 71 years old, grey hair pinned at the nape, a battered cardboard box in her arms. Archie, I heard in town the Collins woman is here. Charlie's sister. He nodded. Let me speak to her. I've kept this since 2013. Ren was called over from the inn where she had spent the night. The three of them sat at Archie's kitchen table. Coraline set the box on the cedar planks. Inside was the camper's file from Lake Jindabyne Arts Camp, summer 2013. A thick folder marked Charlie Collins, cabin 7. Coraline opened it carefully. 3 things came out. The first was Charlie's intake form, filled out in his own handwriting. The line at the bottom read, "What do you hope to become?" Charlie had written, "An architect who designs hospitals where children are not afraid." The second was a stack of 8 pencil sketches drawn on cheap camp paper. Every one of them a draft of the same small lakeside hospital. Curved corridors, wide windows, a painting room, a quiet room, a south-facing therapy garden. The third was a letter folded in 3, addressed to Ren. It had never been sent. I tore up my old letter because I was afraid you wouldn't understand. I'll write again when I get home. I want to tell you my idea. I think I'll be okay if I have something to build. Coraline said softly. Charlie never went home to write it again. But he trusted you. You were the one he wanted to tell. Ren read the letter without crying. She read it twice. She put it down. Her face had gone very still. Why did you keep this and not send it to me 11 years ago? I tried. In 2014. Your family refused all packages with Charlie's name. Your mother returned the whole box marked unopened. I kept it. I waited. I believed someday there would be a reason. Ren looked at Archie. Did you know Charlie wanted to build hospitals? He told me. I thought it was a kid's dream. I didn't know he'd drawn them. She picked up the 8 sketches. She fanned them across the table like cards. Archie, I want you to design Charlie Center. Not from your ideas. From these. From his. Are you good enough to turn a 17-year-old sketches into a real building? Archie looked at the drawings for a long time. He set down one, picked up another, held it against the light. Good enough, he said. Coraline left them with the box. The two of them sat at the kitchen table with the 8 sketches spread out between them. Jody wandered in, leaned over the table, and looked at the drawings carefully. They are pretty. Who drew them, Daddy? Archie put a hand on the back of her head. A very good friend of mine. And Ms. Ren's brother. On Tuesday of the following week, the conference room on the top floor of the Collins Foundation in Sydney filled at exactly 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Ren sat at the head of the table. To her right, 2 attorneys and Nina. To her left, Archie in a plain charcoal jacket. It was the first jacket he had put on in 3 years. He had not worn it to impress anyone. He had worn it because she had asked. Across from them, Trent Sutherland and Brock Holloman. Ren did not greet them. She opened a folder. I'll be short. My foundation just received a donation of 4 acres of Western Lake Jindabyne shoreline from Mr. Venables. Effective Monday, we will build the Charlie Collins Children's Mental Health Center on that land. Mr. Holloman, you blocked our zoning on a residential designation. We have just filed for state-level rezoning through the NSW Department of Health, bypassing Shire authority. That is a right healthcare foundations were granted in 2009. Our filing will clear in 6 weeks. You no longer have jurisdiction. Halloman's colour drained out of his face. And, Ren said, opening the second half of the folder, I have 3 wire transfers from Sutherland Resorts to a Holloman Political Action Committee in 2024, totaling $312,000. Undeclared. I have meeting logs showing Sutherland and Holloman together 14 times in 18 months. I have an email from Holloman to Sutherland reading, Venables will break in 6 months. Mr. Sutherland, Mr. Holloman, you have 24 hours. 1. Mr. Holloman resigns from the mayor's office. 2. Sutherland Resorts withdraws from every Western Lake Jindabyne proposal for 10 years. Otherwise, this file goes to the NSW State Ethics Commission tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Sutherland stood up. Ms. Collins, there is no need to escalate. You don't have the authority. Holloman snapped. I have. Ren said without heat. I have $2.4 billion and a foundation. I have all the authority I need. 20 seconds left. They left. The room went still. The attorneys closed their files quietly and slid out. Nina followed them. Archie and Ren were the only two left. Archie had not said a word the entire meeting. He turned toward her in his chair. You're frightening. She did not smile. Charlie deserved someone frightening to fight for him. He looked at her for a long time. Marin would have liked you. It was the first time he had said his wife's name in front of her. Ren understood the weight of it. She did not answer with words. She put her open hand on one of Charlie's sketches that lay on the table between them. She did not touch his hand. She left her palm close enough that he could see. That night in her penthouse in Sydney, she opened Coraline's box and set the 8 sketches out one more time. On the bookshelf behind her desk stood the photograph of Charlie at 17. For the first time in 11 years, she set it upright facing the room. 3 months later, in early October, the groundbreaking ceremony for the Charlie Collins Children's Mental Health Center took place under a clear cold sky. Holloman had resigned. The new mayor had signed the rezoning the day after taking office. Sutherland had withdrawn. Archie spent 6 weeks in Sydney working with the engineering firm. Ren had given him a small office at the foundation 2 doors down from her own. He drove back to Lake Jindabyne every weekend. Jody stayed with Marin's mother in Albury on the weeks her father was gone. They had not gone on a date. They had not held hands. They had not said anything explicit. But every morning Archie was in Sydney, he stopped at the coffee shop in the lobby downstairs, bought a flat white, and left it on Ren's desk before she arrived. One Friday evening in late October, the first real autumn rain came down over the city. Ren worked late. When she came down to the lobby, Archie was standing by the revolving door with 2 folded rain shells in his hand. Where are we going? Lake Jindabyne for the weekend. Jody misses you. She had not planned to go. She went. They arrived at the Cedar house at 11 o'clock at night. Jody was asleep. Archie led Ren down the long grass to the jetty, the same jetty where they had sat in silence the first evening. On the cedar planks, he had set out something covered in canvas cloth. He pulled the canvas off, a small architectural model in cedar wood. Charlie Collins Children's Mental Health Center, scale 1 to 200. He had built it by hand over 6 weeks, late at night, in the boat shed. Ren went down on her knees in front of it. She touched each tiny window with the tip of one finger. When did you make this? At night. I don't sleep much. Why cedar? Charlie said something at camp, Archie said. He said, I want to walk into a building that smells like real wood. Hospitals all smell like plastic. Ren set the model between them on the jetty. For the first time, she put her hand over his on the cedar plank. 5 seconds. Then she lifted it. The screen door at the house creaked open behind them. Jody appeared on the back porch in pajamas, sleep warm, sketchbook under one arm. Miss Ren, you came. She ran down the grass and threw her arms around Ren's waist from behind. I drew you this week. I'll show you tomorrow. Saturday morning came on slowly. They ate breakfast on the back porch. October had turned the gums on the far shore into gold. The lake lay perfectly still. Jody ate her pancakes, told a story about a substitute teacher, then climbed off her chair and ran around to the side of the house to feed the chooks. Archie and Ren were left on the porch with coffee. Ren spoke first, softly. I don't know what this is. I don't either. I hadn't thought about meeting anyone after Charlie. The foundation was all I had for 11 years. I hadn't thought about meeting anyone after Marin. Jody was all I had for 3. The silence stretched. A small wind moved through the dry leaves at the edge of the porch. Archie was looking at the lake. Maren died on the Hume Highway. A truck lost its brakes on the descent. I was in Sydney giving a presentation. I took the call standing at the lectern. I flew home. I didn't make it in time. Jody was 6. She was at my mother's that afternoon. He drank a swallow of coffee. I blamed myself for going to that presentation. I quit the firm 2 weeks later. I brought Jody here. I started building boats because my hands needed something to do that wasn't drafting. Ren watched a single yellow leaf drop straight down past the porch rail. Charlie was 7 years younger than me. I raised him more than my mother did. By the time he was 17, he seemed to be doing better. I started my MBA at Sydney Uni that autumn. I wasn't home that summer he went to camp. I wasn't home for the 6 months after he came back. Archie, after a long while, Maren would say, "Archie, don't make it hard for her. She's scared in the same way you are." Ren laughed quietly. It was a small sound, but it was a laugh. Charlie would say, "Ren, breathe." They laughed together for the first time. Jody came around the corner with a feather stuck to her sleeve. "Daddy, Miss Ren, did you know one of the chooks laid a double yolk?" "I did know that's possible, sweetheart." "Miss Ren, are you staying till Sunday?" Ren looked at Archie. He did not say anything. He did not have to. "I'm staying," she said. 18 months later, in early May, the ribbon was cut on the Charlie Collins Children's Mental Health Centre. The building rose long and low along the western shore, cedar siding, pitched roof drawn from Charlie's last sketch, wide windows facing the water, a curved central corridor, a south-facing therapy garden full of new lavender and rosemary still finding their roots. The whole place smelled like real wood. 300 guests sat in folding chairs on the lawn. Press from Canberra and Albury, the NSW Secretary of Health, Coraline Beach in the front row in the best linen blouse she owned. Ren walked up to the podium without notes. "My brother Charlie died when he was 17. For 11 years, I believed he had left nothing behind. I was wrong. He left 8 pencil sketches in a cardboard box at Lake Jindabyne. He left a painting on the wall of a stranger's house. And he left a sentence, 'I want to draw a hospital where kids aren't afraid.'" The room was very quiet. This building belongs to Charlie. Not to me, not to the foundation. To Charlie. And to the man who kept his painting on his wall for 11 years, Archie Venables, who turned 8 pencil sketches into a real building. She stepped down. The applause went on a long time. After the ceremony, the crowd drifted to the reception in the South Garden. Ren went the other way. She found Archie at the far end of the main corridor standing in front of the long interior wall. The wall held the original oil painting reframed in museum mounting, lit from above with the soft track lighting curator's use. Jody stood beside him. She was 11 now, taller, still carrying her sketchbook. She turned and saw Ren coming. "Miss Ren, I drew you something last week." She opened the sketchbook to the most recent page, a pencil drawing. Archie and Ren standing on the jetty at Lake Jindabyne looking out at the water. Between them, the small cedar model. She tore the page out carefully and held it up. "It's for you." Ren took the drawing. She put her free hand on Jody's shoulder. Then, for the first time in front of Jody, for the first time in front of anyone, she put her other hand on top of Archie's on the wooden rail of the corridor. She did not lace her fingers through his. She just rested her palm on the back of his hand. He did not move it. They stood that way for half a minute, the three of them facing the painting. Charlie had drawn a house 11 years ago, not knowing who would live inside it. Today, for the first